Hi everybody. Today we're doing goal number 7 of chapter 1B, which this goal deals with setting up and solving revenue problems. When we're doing these problems, it looks very wordy, but to be honest, they're actually pretty straightforward problems. The only way to solve them is using the quadratic formula. So this is just an extension of the quadratic formula. What we're talking about is the demand equation for a product is P equals 20 minus 0.0002x. Okay? One of the biggest mistakes in these problems is that when children go to set these up, there's supposed to be 3 zeros here. Sometimes they'll put 2 or 4, so little details like that. They're saying where P is the price per unit and X is the number of units sold, total revenue is selling X units is revenue equals X times P. So let's start with that as our equation. R equals X times P. Now what they show us in this is that our P, which we said earlier is P is equal to 20 minus the 0.0002x. They just replace it down here. So P becomes what we said it was earlier. So let's write that. Then we have R equal X times 20 minus 0.0002x. Now, in the problem, when we keep reading, the question wants to know how many units must be sold to produce a revenue of $500,000. That's our revenue, which means that's going to be our R. So 500,000 equals X times 20 minus 0.0002x. Okay, so here we go. We got our equation set up. Now we just need to go ahead and put this into standard form so we can use the quadratic formula. If I set this up, we have 0 equals negative 0.0002x squared plus 20x. Move the 500,000 over, and we get minus 500,000. So we'll see our A value is negative, our B value is positive, and our C value is negative. If we set this up in the quadratic formula, we have X equals negative 20 plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is 20 squared, minus 4 times A, which is negative 0.0002, times C, negative 500,000, all over 2 times negative 0.0002. Now, here's the beauty of this problem. Because we're talking about a real life problem, that means we're allowed to get decimals. We don't have to worry about simplifying the radicals. So let me show you a little way to cheat on doing these with the calculator, because this is pretty tough to set up and have the correct signs and parentheses and all that. There's a really easy way to do this on the calculator, and I showed you in the previous goal as well. What we're going to do is we're going to store values inside of our calculator. So we're going to take our A value, which is negative 0.002, and we're going to store it. That's the stow button right here. So we're going to hit stow, and we're going to store it as our A, alpha A. That's alpha math. Now it's stored that, and you'll see it converts it to scientific notation, just a problem that the calculator has with decimal places. For B, we're going to store that as our B value is 20 in this, so we're going to store that as B. And C is negative 500,000, which we've got right there. We're going to store that as our C. Now, all we have to do is set up the quadratic formula. So alpha y equals, we get negative B plus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. And that gives us our first answer in this problem, which is that 50,000 units would have to be sold. Okay? The second answer in this, that's one of them, the second answer is when we do minus. So instead of retyping this whole thing, just go up to it, hit enter on it, and it'll retype it on the screen, and just arrow over to that plus, and let's change it to a minus. And we end up with, for the other one, also 50,000. So these are the two answers. So the only way we could generate that is if we had 50,000. Try the second one. When you're ready, come back and we will go ahead and work through this together. Okay? So now that you've taken the time to work through it, let's set up the problem. We have 220,000 equals X times 60 minus 0.0004x. Rewrite this in standard form. We have 0 equals negative 0.0004x squared plus 60x minus 220,000 Okay, our A value is negative 0.00004. I think I said too many zeros there. B value is positive 60, and C value is negative 220,000. So let's set this up in our quadratic formula. Negative 60 plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is 60 squared, minus 4 times A, which is negative 0.0004. C is negative 220,000. All over our 2 times A, which is 2 times negative 0.0004. Okay, so this is the setup. Now let's get to our two answers. So watch what we're going to do. We're still going to use the calculator for like we did with the last one. Now we're going to store our values. So negative 0.004, store it as A. 60 is going to be stored as B. And negative 220,000 will be stored as C. And so now let's do our quadratic formula. Negative B plus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. And our first answer here is 3760.97. Okay? Now, we're talking about real items, so hopefully we remember that we can't have a part of an item, and so we have to round up to the next amount. So we have 3761 is our first answer. Okay? For our second answer, let's do it again. Quadratic formula, but this time let's do a minus in there. And we get that our other answer is x equals 146,239.03. And again, I can't have 0.03 of something, so let's round up to the next one, and it'll become 240. Hopefully this helps. Again, it's just practicing putting things into the quadratic formula, so if you need help on that, go back and watch the quadratic formula video. Otherwise, have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon.